Welcome to the 1 Million Years of Joy podcast. I'm Dr. Andrade, your host, and my intention is to inspire you to find more joy in your life through the stories from our guests and the science on joy and purpose. I'm delighted that you can join us today, and I'm happy to introduce you to our latest guest, Dr. Marcelo de Andrade, who has earned a worldwide recognition given his contributions to business and the environment. Marcelo is a recipient of the Mitchell Prize and the UN Earth Day International Award and has been named as one of the true visionaries of our time by Time Magazine CNN. In 2007, he co-founded Earth Capital in the UK, becoming the largest global private equity management group exclusively dedicated to sustainable investments. Marcelo graduated from the Gama Filho University Medical School as a doctor of medicine, and he has been a member of the Brazilian rowing Olympic team in 2 Olympic Games. Marcelo, it's an immense pleasure to have you with us today.
Pleasure is all mine, Andrea. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
When I look at your background and everything you have accomplished, it is quite extraordinary. So maybe before we dive into the topic of joy, maybe tell us more about what inspired your journey into the work that you currently do today and the transformations you've been able to bring into this world.
Sure, Andrea, with pleasure. Well, it's all about the joy of being in nature. This is what drove me. I've been in nature since I was 2 years old with my grandfather. He and an indigenous friend of his would take me into walks, into roamings, into different areas of nature. It would explain to me the different details, how to follow a track, how to smell what kind of animal was just passed on and how long was ago, and how cold it's going to be overnight by watching the color of the horizon at sunset. So elements like that, they taught me to understand nature. And something as beautiful as nature, if you understand it better, you love it more. If it is at all possible to love more nature than one already should. But I did. And with the complexities and time strengths of in studying medicine and Olympic rowing training, basically 8 hours a day for each activity, 8 hours in medicine, 8 hours in training, 2 trains a day, morning and evening. I was just away from in nature for a whole Olympic cycle for 4 years. And that drove me crazy. And I designed a strategy. I went to the sponsors of the rowing team, corporates, and proposed to them that they would sponsor 1 expedition a year for me. So I would go explore the most unexplored frontiers in the world and generate spontaneous media return. This is a different time in communications. This is 40 years ago or more. So I would generate spontaneous media return with the logos of the sponsors so that investment on my expeditions we got a payback from from the expedition costs and the rowing costs, because rowing had no media. The sponsors loved it. My coach could not kill me because I was defending the funding for the team. Yeah. And I did several expeditions throughout the years, climbed very high mountains. Aconcagua, I climbed twice, once taking a whole television crew for the first time ever in the top of the mountains in 84, 85. In 91, I went solo, 1991. I climbed solo, broke a record. And so it was all kinds of different elements across the Amazon jungle, 15,000 kilometers of it, on off roads and, all kinds of different ways. The Sahara, east, west, Patagonia, Africa, many different places, Kilimanjaro. And anyway, the outcome of that and what really hit me, apart from being an incredible, joyful expedition, if you ask me, what brought me most joy in my life was this. And I'm happy and ready to go back into that. But that also brought me a perception and understanding that we were in trouble somehow. I had no idea. we had environmental problems. I was completely oblivious to that. I was just a kid trying to have paid vacations, pretty much. I mean, sincerely, there was no altruistic motive for that. It was just that. But the fact that I saw white sand for kilometers along, tens of kilometers in the Amazonian roads, the glaciers of Patagonia melting out, the trash on the highest mountains in the world, Kilimanjaro melting off its ice cap, the desert in Sahara growing, and a lot of social conflict. That really got me thinking. And the first time I climbed Aconcagua in 84 to 85, in December to January 85, I was stuck on top of almost at the summit, waiting for the TV crew to come. And we had 3 days of storms, 3 big storms, and 6 days of just waiting there. At that altitude, you don't process your metabolism, you die slowly. And it's common to have hallucinations and have all kinds of whatever, dreams, visions. And I had one. I had a hallucination for the throat, a vision, whatever it is. I saw a solution for what was bothering me for so many years prior to that with the experience of the expeditions. And that solution was Pro Natura, was the foundation. So I came back. I started talking to very smart people, way smarter and way more involved in this than myself. They really liked what I was saying. Prince Charles was one of them. Prince Charles, later on, I met him, and he was very intrigued for the fact that environment, up to 1992, environment was the thing. Economic, social, government, corporate, they were all evil people. They wouldn't be dealt with, or were not part of they were part of the problem. They were causing all this. The understanding that I had from my vision and from talking to those people is environment was a consequence of the action and investments, capital deployed on those different sectors. So I designed Pro Natura as a development agency to tackle and to direct capital to solutions for the economic growth, especially at the bottom of the pyramid, the poorest, because the big companies, they could take care of themselves, as they are doing now, responding to pressure, to shareholder needs, or to technology investments, and all of their limits. They'll take care of them. They are taking care of themselves. So we focused our foundation and our development agency on the bottom of the pyramid, building economic models. And then in 1992, after climbing for the second time Aconcagua, and after talking to Prince Charles and he convincing me that I should move, I climbed Aconcagua in 84 as a medical doctor. I climbed it down as Pro Natura. So I climbed it up again in 1990 and climbed it down in 91 solo. Climbed up as Pro Natura, climbed down as financial sector in my mind. So in 92, 6 months later, the term sustainability was carved in 92 in a conference in Rio by Maurice Strong and the team, UN team, and all of the others. And we were recognized as one of the early implementers of the term then created sustainability, but almost 10 years before. So in 1993, at the main UN building, 15 of us got an award, a big award from the UN, recognizing us as references for the newly created term in different walks of life. For example, in oceans, they gave the award to Captain Cousteau. Mm-hmm. In media was Ted Turner. In politics was Al Gore. In Hollywood, activism was Robert Redford and Meryl Streep. In sports was Pelé. Music, Steve. And I got for building economies at the bottom of the pyramid, sustainable economies. So with that award, I went into the private sector following Prince Charles' advice and formed the first venture capital fund that had a positive biodiversity impact in the world with the IFC as my partner and some investors. That went well. I then created a bank. I was the executive director, co-founded a bank, and then later co-founded Earth Capital with 5 Brits partners in London. And it became the largest private equity firm in the world that has a exclusive focus in sustainability investments. So I followed the sustainability career initially with a missionary hat, and then from 92 on with a mercenary hat, but both aligned with sustainability and Prince Charles' advice was, according to your 50-year plan, by the year 30, which was part of the plan, the last 20 years, you're going to grow it to a mega scale, solution scale, assuming that if you have a problem, to call something a solution to that problem, it has to have the same scale. And the scale of the problem we have is immense. So Prince Charles' rationale was you got to really go into the financial world, understand it, be trusted by it, and then you can design the last 20 years of your 50-year plan into that. And we are actually on year 38 of the plan. So we've been 8 years into we have 12 more to go. We're already preparing the next 50 and the next gen, because I'm not going to be around for long. So, or much longer at least. And then so that's it. So that's the summary of the journey. And we're now implementing it. We've been involved, we implemented this methodology and the share value platform, which is the name of the joint venture with the IFC. We've created the joint venture with the IFC for that. It's called the shared value platform. And we have implemented this in one way or the other over 38 years in 66 countries and different parts of the world. So that's it. So that's a summary. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, this is incredible, Marcelo. I'm so impressed, as I said, by everything you've done and continue doing to have a positive impact on this world. It's so impressive. And as I'm listening to you share your journey, what comes to mind is how can other leaders, how can other individuals all over the world play a more significant role in tackling the environment problem that is so prevalent today? Do you have any tips or any insights on what can organizations begin doing differently? What can leaders begin doing differently to really follow on your footsteps with a lot of the positive momentum and work that you've created?
The problem with impact in environment is caused by humans. The main reason, in my opinion, in my vision, in my way to see it, the main issue that we humans have to tackle that, to harm environment like this, is to make money in different proportions. Large corporations used to have the use of the wrong kind of technology, or the technology was not enough developed at the time to provide the products and the sales and pay dividends to their shareholders every quarter. They had to do that. They had another option. Since we became aware we have an environmental problem, investments are being made, political pressure, legislation, and all that, and it's being fixed. New technology comes out every day. So for corporations and large structures like that, investing in the proper technologies and advancing this concept of every time get a better technology and really replace the old ones to the new ones is the way to go. And on the little guys, with the small ones that have to chop 1 hectare of forest every year to live, otherwise they die, is the kind of things that we do with the share value platform, is bundle them and structure in a regional basis, enough scale and enough de-risking strategies that the same capital that invests with the big corps on the very high, large-scale solutions, they can be interested, not forced, be attracted to that side of the investments as well, with the small and medium, ticking their boxes. We need scale, we need profitability, we need de-risking, we need transparency, governance, and whatever it is. I think leaders play a huge role here to kind of organize that. Leaders, political leaders, community leaders, corporate leaders, all of it. And the corporations, institutions play a big role in financing all of this, but also in investing and doing on their own backyard the best they can do in terms of technology development and using the best, and that's it.
And I love that advice. And what comes to mind also is purpose. We need more purpose-oriented leaders. What is your purpose in your own words that could potentially inspire others to forge their own purpose moving forward?
My purpose have been for the past maybe 40 years is to offer one real scale solution to the problem. If I achieve that purpose, which I haven't yet, we don't have a full scale real solution to form. We're not far, but still a lot to go, at least another 12 years. That has been my purpose since I designed the 50-year plan. And I focus that, engage the family, engage everybody, my friends, and all my focus on that. So if we have, in terms of purpose, to make a contribution, to reverse, restore, and stop something that is harming nature, harming the humans, and I think that will be a huge step.
So as you're sharing this and talking about the long-term vision you have implemented many years ago, I'm curious to get your view on how our drive to seek joy in the short term is actually hindering our ability to bring even greater joy in the long term, not only for ourselves, but also for future generations.
Sometimes our drive for immediate joy, it applies to anything. Somebody may choose to enjoy some kind of a activity or action that does harm nature or that create a bad example, which is even worse, much worse. Leaders only lead by example. You cannot lead in a different way. I would risk to say, which definitely is my case, and all of the other big leaders I've ever met, and I had the privilege to meet a few, is that they get joy out of exerting the example that they want to lead by.
As we talk about leaders, the reality that we can also be leaders in our own families as parents. And I know you have children of your own. Can you share some more insights on your own personal journey as a parent?
Of course. One girl, international relations and law graduate, and she chose to teach to children with difficulty to learn or difficult behaviors. So a very challenging approach, which I believe could be kind of rubbed off my influence, because I haven't chosen the easiest path in life, to say the least. The other girl, she decided to go into fashion, but sustainable fashion, it's a very big industry. She's a financial genius, so she got into that angle as well. And my wife, her mother, had always been in design and also fashion, but all sustainable as well. She ran a big design school in a favela, in a shantytown in Rio de Janeiro for years. And some of the students, most of them, are now employed by they came from the favelas to the big labels in Europe, in the US. She's now working in Paris in one of the big brands and really driving them. So I'm very proud of both of them. And my boy, he was an athlete as well. He was a super rower, much, much better than I have been. He's about this much taller than me. And he got a scholarship into Berkeley Business School and graduated business with computer science with honors. And now he's taking the family business from his mother and my wife and taking it to a whole different level, internationalizing it. The whole mindset of sustainability is embedded in their minds, and they're taking it to different areas of different walks of life, which was what has to happen. Sustainability is a transversal.
You're talking about your son who's also very athletic. It brought me to dig deeper into your own pursuits within the Olympics while becoming a doctor. How challenging was that? Because everyone knows that studying to become a doctor is tremendously demanding. And you were also pursuing an Olympic career. Was that a joyful moment for you?
Very much so. The school would take 8 hours of studying, school a day, and the training 8 hours a day. The joy I felt in waking up every morning before the sunrise and then seeing the sunrise in the middle of the water rowing in nature. And then going to school full of energy, because after the sports, yes, you spent a lot of energy, but you had a good, you were active all day. and then going back and closing your day in the water, seeing the sunset, because that's what happened every day. This was what gave me really, I mean, it was very joyful. And at night, I would just pass out because so tired to wake up again at 4 o'clock to be back to be in. So that routine went on for many years. The only negative bit of that was the first Olympic cycle, first 4 years, and I was away from nature. That drove me to do the expeditions. But then from then on, I had 1 month a year that would be off in the world somewhere wild, and it was wonderful. And I continued to row and to be an athlete after I finished my Olympic of teams. I started climbing mountains. So in 85, 84, 85, Aconcagua first, and then I climbed a few other mountains and other expeditions and climbed again, and then on. And that requires a good physical shape, which I kept myself on. And during COVID times, the Olympic Committee challenged me to go back the 30-year anniversary of my second climb, solo climb, to Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain out of the Himalayas. It's in the Andes. And I accepted the challenge. I trained for almost 2 years. I was in good shape, and it really was exciting. And I felt the joy again of being there, and all the endorphin and the whole thing that comes with it. But then COVID locked down in the countries, I could not do it. But I'm still on my planning map. I'll go back, maybe instead of 30 to 35-year anniversary or something like that.
In this process of having so many activities, so many explorations, to what extent have you been able to dedicate time to your medical practice, if at all?
I didn't. I had to make a very tough decision coming down from Aconcagua the first time. I'm a doctor, I climbed down up Parnatura. So I decided there that I would dedicate myself to what I had seen up there, and that medicine is too important. Medicine is a full-time dedication, and it's a huge responsibility to your patients, to your fellow humans. So I decided to, not to go there. The knowledge and what I've learned on my medical career and my diploma, and I did all kinds of internships. All of I've learned helped a lot on the expeditions, and still happen because we're usually in the middle of nowhere, in the most difficult parts of the world on our projects. So the medical knowledge helps a lot, and I've been able to help people. But I gave up my medical. I still have my doctor's license, but I don't do it for 38 years.
But you've had so many other accomplishments that are incredible, and all the awards that you won are testament of those incredible achievements. So it's really wonderful. And if I now were to ask you, let's take away all those achievements, let's take away all those titles and your origins from Brazil and so on, how would Marcelo define himself in 3 to 5 words?
Persistent to a fault, maybe sometimes even too much. Loyal friend, sometimes too optimistic. That can be a negative thing. Too trusting, sometimes is also negative. Have not been able to have as many real friends as I wish. I have some very good real friends, but a few, because for that, you need to really dedicate time and to build a friendship. And because of all of the other activities I had, I didn't have that opportunity. I know a lot of people all over the world, obviously. Because of this, I know the most interesting people, and I met millions of people. But real friends, very few. That's one, it's not a regret, but it's one negative aspect of the life I've lived.
Well, thank you for sharing. So as we're wrapping up, I just have one final question for you. If you think back to all the expeditions that you've been on, what has been the most joyful experience that really brought you in that state of awe where you realize how beautiful life is and how beautiful nature is as well?
There is one single place that brought me that twice. And that's the top of Aconcagua. The first time changed my life because I saw that vision. 5 years later, I went in, and it changed again my life because I placed the management of that institution that was created from that vision into a proper CEO's hand, who unfortunately left us this world just a few months ago, Guy Renault, which was one of the most admirable men I've ever seen in my life, and one of the person most admired. He ran for Natura for 30 years more, and gave me the opportunity to go to the financial sector. So I changed my life the 2 times I was on top of that mountain. And the 2 times there were no clouds, there was almost no wind. I could see the world from the top. It was something that I have never seen again. And that was the strongest vision and feeling I've ever had in my life. And joy.
How beautiful. And as a final thought, if there would be anything that you could change from the past, everything that you've lived through, would there be anything that you'd like to change, and what would that be?
Dedicate more time to my family and to my friends. I would do that.
Thank you so much, Marcelo. This has been an absolute pleasure to be with you here today, to learn more about your life journey and how you bring joy not only to yourself, but how you're bringing joy to this world, so we can actually enjoy more of this beautiful world in the future.
My pleasure. And thank you for giving the opportunity to share this. It's very important. I hope this can influence more people to move in that direction and lead on that direction.
Thank you, Marcelo.
Thank you.